Good evening, everybody. This is Joey Ream along with Dave Bartlett and Pete Gosa. I'm sorry, I'm not used to doing the intro to this show, but tonight, special guest for the third time with our fresh update from the life in the NHL Stanley Cup bubble. Look at the smile on his face as Tampa Bay sits quietly, waiting patiently for either the Islanders or the Flyers, and watch that Islanders-Flyers game last night, Kisser. I'm sure you did as well. Are you able to say who you want, or?
Yeah, no, not really. Even even when the round robin played out, we were right to the last minute on who we'd play, and then getting through Columbus, we had to wait the Boston Carolina series out. And this time of year, no, we had the visual of Philly taking it to us in our last round robin game. And I don't know if anyone's playing better with their structure right now, Islanders. But I knew we were watching the game last night. We had a dinner for the guys, and whenever Philly scored, our athletic trainers and doctors were cheering. So that was them telling us we need a couple days off.
Right.
So we take them.
Obviously, you come first, but I am a longtime Islanders fan, along with Darren Wilson. We're huge Islanders fans, so we are rooting for the Islanders Tampa Bay matchup. You first, but if something were to happen, I have thoroughly enjoyed watching you guys play, but there's something about the Islanders. It seems different than so cohesive to me. Like they really are all on the same page and really well coached. Do you get that impression as you guys are watching?
We use when we describe them as connected, and you can see wherever they go, it looks like a group of five in the D zone. When they regroup in the neutral zone, when they get on the forecheck. It's a well-structured team. It's a well-coached team, but it's a team right now with huge buy-in. And that can be dangerous. They block shots. They defend well. They manage their game. They're very patient. In a lot of ways, how they're playing right now is where we wanted to be from that first round exit last year, Columbus, to where we were now, and it just seems like whoever ends up in the last 8 and the last 4, the 2 teams in the Stanley Cup Finals, you go further to Boston and St. Louis last year. There's a certain style that's going to be successful in the playoffs. And right now, the Islanders have that formula. So, as a fan, you should be excited. Well, I'm a huge Barry Trotz fan. I got to know Barry a little bit. We had some. That was something else.
Looks like the other night against Boston to close them out.
Getting used to the overtimes.
Yeah, so interesting thing. I'm in Tampa right now.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
I take care of things and see if we set up and come down to Florida. If I have the opportunity, I come over to hang out with them for a couple of days. And so that's what I'm doing till Saturday.
Very cool. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Hotter than hell
Does
though,
get
man.
hot.
I can't deal with
It'll
this
get
heat.
better. August is the tough weather there. No doubt about that.
Yeah. 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 I'll be coming back in November. Hopefully it won't be quite as bad. I doubt it will be.
All right, Kisser. Looks like
Yeah.
we got Pete back and we're recording again. So if again, folks, bear with us tonight because Pete's got a bad connection and he's the host of this thing. So we might be in and out for a little bit. We'll do the best we can. But Kisser, we were talking about the Islanders and the possible matchup there, but talk a little bit about the first two rounds and obviously being involved in a 5 overtime affair with Columbus and in that whole experience. I'm sure that was just an unbelievable experience. Have you ever been involved in a game that came even close to that length?
No. You know what? I coached once the Eastern Conference Finals in the ECHL, Game 7. We played South Carolina, 3 overtimes. Leighton, this was a whole new world for us. It was just crazy. Obviously, we felt pretty good about ourselves. We were trailing that team going into the third, and their record of finishing off teams trailing, leading them in the third is outstanding. So we felt a little fortunate to get in overtime. Then trust our offense. Don't sacrifice offense for defense. And then we get back then by the third overtime, we literally had no bodies. Like guys they were getting IVs. They were trying to eat every drink they could possibly make or concoct. They were putting together for the guys. And we almost tried to get a little humorous with the guys. We joked about giving them a day off, and I think they pretty much knew by the third or fourth overtime the next day would be a day off. Emotional win, but we just liked the way we played. I think that set us up for the rest of that series and doing things right in those two opponents. Anytime you get a chance at an Eastern Conference Final special, but to go through a Columbus team, which obviously beat us the previous year, to go through Boston, who is the President's Trophy champion and arguably the best team in the league. This is it's been a good run so far. Hopefully just getting started.
You've got some pretty key injuries right now, though. How are you looking as far as those guys being able to come back?
Done about not having him in those minutes so well, and obviously helps our depth. Kucherov will probably be a day-to-day type thing. I think a Philly win the other night to prolong that series a little bit, give us some rest. Stamkos, I don't know. We get some updates here and there, but he's got that core. It's just not responding for him. Good day, bad day type things. But we've liked our depth. We talk about our depth all the time. We talk about being a resilient group, and anybody that has success this time of year, it's a little bit about our adversity, and that's just part of the story. We'll keep next man up mentality as we talk about.
Your game where you closed out Boston, listening to the announcers announcing that game, and they really seem to focus on your team's injuries and how you're kind of short on the offensive line as far as the number of lines you could play. I think they said you were down to 10 forwards.
Yeah.
And so obviously a big team leader. But I like the next man up thing
Yeah.
you're saying. You know,
It was a reality. So
gotta-
we had to feel, I think in game two, we wanted to get another D in our lineup, and Luke Shen, with McDonough out, we ended up going 2D to give us 7. And we just think Shen gives us harder so we could get some more minutes for some of our top guys. And it worked out great. Obviously, the one risk you run into is an injury during the game, and you end up being down to 10 forwards. And that's what happened. I couldn't be any more proud of our group in that game, and that we were down to 10. We were extremely gassed. We were tired. And you could feel Boston pushing. And all the previous overtimes, the 3 previous that we won, we had just a really good feel in overtime. We felt we were the better team. Obviously, anything can happen in overtime, but we felt we were going to get that bounce, and it did. That was a different game. We felt on our heels. We were playing tight, and when you are tired, you stop making plays. And we thought we were in trouble after that first overtime. We were very in the overtimes is you don't get the TV timeouts. You only get the one at the 10-minute mark. So, God, as a coaching staff, we were talking about using some forwards up front. We were talking about using a timeout maybe in that 13 to 14 minutes to get it into the 10-minute mark. And when in reality, that second overtime felt like some of those previous overtimes where we were dictating play, we were pushing, we had the energy, and another point shot that got through and a tip, and it was a great feeling. Again, obviously, to play for an Eastern Conference Finals is special. Get through a team like Boston makes it
to get through Columbus as well after what they did to you last year. I'm sure that was a good feeling as well.
Yeah, probably a mental part of that too. Overcoming some demons there, but just the style of play. They are a patient team. They pack it in. They don't give you much. They are very comfortable with giving you zone time. And the games were playing out that way, and we kept talking to our guys, stay on task, don't get frustrated. Where obviously last year we had a similar situation. We didn't handle those 2 D-man and Werenski and Jones. God, it feels like months ago when we played those guys, but they play 30 minutes. They're an absolute bear when they're on the ice. There's never a good matchup when they're on the ice. For our guys to get through that, one is a little bit of a mental hurdle, but the way we got through it and playing the right way, the Boston series.
So, Kisser, you something.
So we've come to find out it's a day by day. No rules in this bubble scenario. And I really for travel. They fly to Edmonton on Sunday. Now, play again tomorrow. They're still talking on Saturday. I just think TV wants to get an East Coast, and then we fly out on Sunday. If the Flyers win, I think we're going to take off to Edmonton on Saturday and just wait for that arrival. They'll probably take off on Sunday. They'll probably get started on Monday and Tuesday. So I think they're doing the best they can to try to shorten up everything as much as they can. But obviously, we're just at the mercy of these other series. So it's kind of get your work done. We've done a lot of Islanders, done a lot of the 2 days off. We'll get back at practice tomorrow, no matter what. It'll be our first practice back, and just kind of wait and see. And see. It's an unbelievable setup. And again, being here this long, but from the get-go, I got the NHL a ton of credit on how they handle things. So they have a 5-sheet practice facility for center, which is the Toronto Maple Leafs in itself right now. So it's part of our bubble. We're the only people allowed in as teams, and we're all sharing. Everyone's practicing. 12 teams practicing the same day. You're crisscrossing players. I went over and skated one of our injured players today, Jan Ruda, and myself, our athletic trainer, Jan Ruda, the only 3 people in the building and 1 security guy. When 3 weeks earlier, it was an absolute circus. So it's kind of eerie like that. But we use the practice, and it's only for games. But it's just been an interesting watching teams leave the bubble, and now we're 3 teams left here in the bubble. It's been when I take this all in. Obviously, we're still living in the moment. We have a goal in front of us. Obviously, what next opponent's going to look like. But when this is all said and done, and I've been quite an experience for sure.
I was thinking about today when I was trying to think a question. I'm watching more hockey now than I ever have. So I love listening to announcers, so I compare them to Pete and Dave to see how good they are. So when I'm listening, one of the things that when I watch a Major League Baseball game, and especially now in the NBA, those 2 sports especially, but even the NFL is coming. Where's analytics in the NHL? How much is that involved? Because obviously a baseball game now, I know you know the sport of baseball. A baseball game, you don't need to have range anymore.
Yes.
They place you where the ball's going to get hit. You don't see those diving plays because they move you around, and it's all based on numbers. And where's analytics?
It's a huge part of it. So right now we have 3 full-time members on our analytics staff, and they have anywhere between 3 and 10 analytics people. One of them. So they'll turn around basic stuff right after game. The biggest wave right now is expected goals for. They kind of take your chances for what area and how, and what the expected goals would be for. They've been working just as hard as us of late with this time, and they've analytically broke down every Islanders of their last 2 series, our play versus Islanders, zone time, successful entries. I ran into a very good analytics team when I was in Minnesota. I know Bruce Boudreau was not as keen on it, so they would spend a lot more time actually with me in the American Hockey League. Bruce certainly warmed up to a little bit more, so I got a good taste of there. Then to come to see it now, and it's used. So I still think it's such a reaction type game. Feel to the likelihood of creating offense from a strong side cycle to a cycle all the way up the far side, where offense coming from the blue line, and they do a ton. It's amazing where it's at, and to me, it's amazing where it's going to go. So it is a huge part of it. It's a reality of it. It's big on free agent signings. It's big on trade deadline. So the trade deadline would be the coaching staff, the general manager, and then the Georgia Tech engineering grad in the meetings with the analytics. So it's a huge part of it. I've been very receptive to it. It's like anything else. If you don't follow it and if you don't get on top of it, it's going to pass you and you're going to be behind. So it's a great question because it's overwhelming. I literally have to sit down and I can show you things.
It amazes me. I mean, you're looking at somebody. I listen to sports talk radio all the time, and there's nothing I love more than listening to a Yankee fan call up and talk to Michael Kay about how bad Gary Sanchez is. He's terrible, blah blah blah, catcher for the Yankees. He's not Thurman Munson, and I'm like, Michael Kay's like, you as hard as you can, and it's by the number, and like you said, if you're not going to evolve, just like with anything else in life, if you're not going to evolve to the changes, then you're going to get stuck behind. And I just loved listening to 75-year-old complain about the 143 slap hitter playing left field for the Yankees when it's got batting average now. Batting average doesn't mean a damn thing in major. Yeah. So that's what made me curious about, how involved has it gotten?
It's evolving and it's getting there, and it's a useful tool. It's a huge tool. I feel very fortunate. I really think Minnesota as an organization and Tampa now, and talking to some other peers I have, I think I've been around some really good analytics teams. I think because I do think it's a useful tool, but there's always that balance. Our general manager, he is steadfast on it. For him, where John Cooper, he understands it. He knows it's a part of it, but he's over it. And it's funny, me being a little more receptive, I still kind of shield him from the analytics guys. They kind of run stuff through me, and if I think he'll be receptive to it or makes sense, I'll bring it in. We've kind of evolved into a little trust feel with the analytics guys, because sometimes those analytic guys, there's a feel to it, there's a movement to it, there's an energy level to things, there's a toughness aspect. We're on the bench and he's telling an opponent on the other side he's going to rip this head off if he comes by. Tough number to quantify. So I still think there's some feel. Luke Shen is not a darling when it comes to the analytics, and I know it frustrates our analytics team. They're scared of them. There's a legit element when Luke Shen is on the ice. All he needs to do is catch someone once or twice, or stick up for a teammate. So I think it's tough for them to quantify that. So I think there's somewhere in between that you can be successful and you will win with the analytics tool.
Hey, and I kind of brought up sports talk radio, and Derek, I know you know your sport, and number one, does it bother you guys in the NHL? Because I know you know this. When it comes to nationally sports talk radio, you don't get talked about. NHL just does not. It's not on Colin Cowherd's first page of things to deal with, or any of the big. That kind of had to have felt like a home run to you guys, and not just with you guys individually, but in the NHL, because you got talked about that day for certain. But where do you feel like hockey? Because it just, I feel so. It feels sometimes hockey just doesn't get the attention it deserves.
That it's number 4. I have no problem saying that. It's still a major sport, and you do all the numbers and business numbers. It's still football leagues or soccer leagues throughout the world. It's still a major sport. And I think we understand our place, but I think we also understand it still needs to grow. And I think that justified why we took all these measures to come back in this format. We need to keep, and you have Tampa and the Islanders in it, but it's been so well received, and we have to keep growing our sport. So it doesn't really bother me. Obviously, the markets I am, it's a big deal. I love coming to Canada because the Sports Center, it's all hockey. And then we'll go to a Raptors. So it's just different cultures. It's a major sport, but there still needs growth. It still keeps I know the movement, the Black Lives Matters movement, was a big thing. That was a unique experience in itself. Obviously, boycotting and us delaying boycotting 2 days here. Just so proud of the way our guys handled that personally. We beat Boston 7-1. Boston's worst playoff loss in years. I don't know if it could be any more high where overtime from going down completely turned the series. And on that type of situation, I think our guys felt a little guilty for not playing. And Kevin Shattenkirk, I think, drove it a little bit. 24 hours later, I think our sport and our guys did the right thing. So we're a major sport. We need to keep doing things correct. We needed to keep doing things with the best interests of our fans, and I think we're doing that.
Well, hey, and I got to tell you, I spread the wealth because I now and again I want to hear about hockey. So every now and again I'll listen to 690 AM out of Montreal, and that is nothing but Canadians, Montreal Canadians and hockey.
Yes.
Nothing. The Super Bowl could be going on. They're talking about the Canadians, third line of defense. So hockey's getting a little bit more. Right. Smart move it was to go through with the bubble. And it also feels to me, I don't know about Dave and Pete, how much they've watched, but it feels to me like NBCSN, that NBC Sports Network, it really feels like hockey is home on that channel.
Yes.
To me. More than any other channel that I've seen it on when, on the American channels. It seems to me like that's their product. It really seems like it fits there to me.
Yeah, well, I think we had a little bit of a perfect storm there. As much as the Olympics this year, they were a big part of us getting back in this bubble. They were like, what can we do? And I think it was by purpose. They needed that filling time. He's done well for him. Again, that's part of this being just a huge success, and it's neat to see for our sport and much needed. So it's been a home run, and hopefully we can keep being
Pete comment.
keep going. And,
for myself, I've always been a hockey, but then comes a time in a kid's life. If you're a hockey player and a basketball player, basketball was my choice, but hockey was still in my heart. I always love watching hockey. Hockey is my favorite spectator sport for me. As far as watching a sport, hockey's always been my favorite.
Growing up, and again, I love living in Des Moines, Iowa, living in Toledo, Ohio. living in Tampa, where hockey's big in those markets because we have the professional teams there, but home, it's hockey, and it's what we know, it's what we grew up with, and obviously we appreciate how great of a sport it is.
So, speaking of home, Kisser, before we wrap this up and let you get back to work there, you know, recently had the Bastard Scramble.
Yeah.
So my version of the Stanley Cup is now in the hands of, and won the cup this year. So we're next to the real thing. So, you know, compare the two, drink out of them both. So
we will work very hard. I was
tonight.
getting the scramble. Once again, that group of clientele in that scramble did not disappoint me. I was entertained all day, literally right up to game time. I was getting entertained all day, and I enjoyed it. And we'd love to get those trophies together. And you know, it's just so amazing. You know, we talked about, you know, before this even started, from the very first time we talked over the pause, and now that we're in the Final Four, this is exciting. It's going to be extremely difficult once you get in the Final Four. Everyone's the same. You literally could start for an opportunity like this, and it still drives me. Just the thought of being able to bring that thing home.
The Watertown Times ran an article today. There was a Putnam.
Yeah, Brian Putnam. He's one of our amateur
Okay.
scouts. Yeah, from Potsdam, played at UNH. Good buddy of mine. Yes.
But he really didn't reference you and Brian very much. The whole article was about
it.
Zach,
So
you know?
Zach and I laughed about the other day. I'm like, hey, there's an article here. Zach gets 13 paragraphs. You and I get a line. So, and then Zach and I share a lot of the same friends from the Messina area. We got a crew of about, I don't know, 12 or 14 guys that we're on text exchange with, and they referenced it too, and they had a blast with it. But after every series win, we'll have a gathering and a get together with Zach and I, and enjoying the fruits of our labor with an adult beverage. And we sent that to the boys, and it was one down, and then we were able to do it again the other night.
Well, that's what we're all hoping for, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been awesome. When we had you on in April, and you teased us with the fact that the NHL was really thinking about doing this, and now that they have, and to think that we're this close and we're still having these conversations, and now we're gonna ask you, you know, if we can get one just before the Stanley Cup. Glad they doing for keeping the North Country informed, and we can't say enough about everything that you're doing for us.
This far into a season, it becomes a little bit superstitious. So if we get through the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm gonna have to be our first one from the Edmonton bubble. I don't know. We've this bubble here, as tough as it's been to be in a hotel and only basically being in 3 places. I heard this has been a great setup compared to Edmonton. So we've actually had some. We talked about bringing a bunch of cigarettes to get muscle when we roll in there. So Edmonton might be able to do another one of these from the Edmonton bubble, because that means we'd be another step towards Stanley Cup.
Well, man, again, number one, we apologize for man. I'm gonna let Dave wrap this up, but I want to again thank you as an SLC guy, a couple of SLC guys. What you're doing is unbelievable. You got a whole town of Falls just rooting for you. We talk about you. I don't know why it's taken so long. I'm not the only one wearing a cap now, so. That it's awesome. I can't wait to watch your next game, and again, for me, I hope it's the Islanders, because it's just that would be great to see the Islanders and you facing off to go to the Stanley Cup.
Love it. I can feel that energy. I congratulations, Tex. And it's a lot of it drives me. There's no doubt about it. Appreciate that.
All right, buddy.
And I'm going to go out and get myself an authentic Tampa hat now that I'm in Tampa.
You're right there in town, yes.
All right. So for our host, Pete Ghostlaw, who is having some internet issues tonight, Joey Realm and myself, Dave Bartlett, want to say thanks to guys. Be safe.
Thanks, guys.